fail. I agree, Senator. Words fail in exactly the same way all attempts to protect Americans from gun violence fail whenever you are in the room. For more on this, I am joined now by Massachusetts Congressman Jake Auchincloss. Congressman, thank you so much for making time for us tonight. First, it's the first time you and I have spoken since President Biden gave his primetime address. I just want to get your reactions to that speech and on the need for gun control and what impact has it made on the debate over gun control since he delivered it.
President Biden was one of the architects of the federal assault weapon ban in 1994. He knows what common sense gun safety legislation looks like. But he also understands, I think, what Congress has become in the interim. And what the GOP and the Senate has become under Mitch McConnell is 100% beholden to the NRA. I have no confidence that Mitch McConnell will do the right thing. He is going to repeat the playbook of the NRA that they have used at least since Columbine. They're going to blame the mental health problems in this country. Well, every developed nation has mental health challenges. The United States is unique in that 300,000 school children have been exposed to gun violence since Columbine. They're going to say that the answer to bad guys with a gun is good guys with a gun. They want to make our synagogues and our churches and our grocery stores and our schools into fortresses. They want to make it so that every time you walk outside your door, you have to arm yourself just to feel safe. One, that's a dystopian vision for the United States. Two, it doesn't work. 19 good guys with a gun stood outside that Uvalde classroom for 48 minutes and 100 shots fired before they breached that door. Good guys with a gun don't stop bad guys with a gun. And then finally, Republicans and the NRA are going to hide behind the D.C. Heller Supreme Court ruling and say that gun legislation is unconstitutional. Well, Justice Scalia's top clerk for that case himself has said that D.C. versus Heller does not proscribe common sense, safe storage, red flag, and background check legislation. The Republicans and the NRA want to talk about every single thing other than the actual problem, which is guns. We have a gun violence problem in this country. It is because we have too many guns in this country. And Americans in both parties, including gun owners, agree that we need common sense legislation to save lives.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you speak with such clarity about it because Republicans always try to obfuscate what this issue is about. And we saw it there with Senator Mitch McConnell. I mean, he's had a long career of obstructing and obfuscating gun control efforts. What would you say to him tonight as somebody who wields that kind of power over his party? And you know he is not, at least in my estimation, a good faith negotiator about this issue when it comes to gun control.
I don't think there's anything to say to Mitch McConnell. To borrow a line from him, words would fail me because he's not interested in rational debate about this issue. I could tell him that the only time the word regulate appears in the United States Constitution is to describe how we should approach guns in this nation. But he knows that. He is beholden to the NRA. He is beholden to their corrupt interests. And I think he's going to obstruct any common sense legislation going forward. This is why I have increasingly come to believe that in this country, in order for us to achieve what a majority of Americans want, we have to dismember the NRA itself. We have to go after that organization which foments extremism and domestic terrorism, which recruits disaffected young men and promises them that they can be like SEAL Team 6 if they would just buy high-capacity magazines and tactical gear. This organization needs to be torn apart limb by limb. We got to go after them through litigation. We have to go after them through their membership roles. We have to go after them through their money. We have to go after them through their gun manufacturing sponsors. This organization, for so long as it exists, I think is going to be a major obstruction to the gun safety legislation that will save lives.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that because I did want to ask you about that. You obviously, as you just did, have called to disband the NRA, the radical gun group that is clearly hobbled by all of the scandal and the internal conflict and all the issues that we've been hearing about their organization struggling with surrounding it. Do you believe that this group faces an existential crisis? Because on one hand, we hear how they are financially struggling, yet at the same time, we see the kind of power they still have over members of the Republican Party that they completely are able to obstruct and block any meaningful path forward on gun control.
I wish. We can't be passive. The NRA is not going away until we take a proactive, rigorous approach to it. We've got to pursue every avenue possible. Like I said, litigation, money membership. It's not going away on its own. It's not going to collapse under its own hypocrisy and evil. We need to attack it, a frontal assault. And I think that kind of charge needs to be led in part by veteran lawmakers like me. I slept, ate, trained, patrolled with an AR-15 for 4.5 years. I spent 3 months with that weapon day and night before I was even allowed to put a round in the chamber. When we went to sleep at night, we locked that weapon behind 3 locked doors because the United States Marine Corps understands that these are weapons of war that need to be treated with supreme respect, and they certainly have no place in the hands of untrained civilians, much less mentally unwell people.
In the absence, and I hate to sound like a broken record for people who watch this show, Congressman, but I usually ask this of all the politicians that come on this program. In the absence of filibuster reform, what can be done to stop mass shootings from happening every few days in this country?
Well, Senator Chris Murphy is leading the charge on a bipartisan effort right now. And Senator Murphy is the most passionate, one of the best experts on gun violence in the Senate. I have every confidence that if there is a deal to be had, he will get it. It is going to be far from perfect. And make no mistake, what we really are going to need is a federal assault weapons ban. It worked from 1994 to 2004. It has saved lives in that 10-year span. That's why a majority of Americans want it back. And we need to not stop fighting until we can pass that into law. But we also have to take the fight to the states. In my home state of Massachusetts, we have an assault weapon ban. We have safe storage, background check, and red flag laws. They save lives. If every state in the nation applied Massachusetts gun laws, tens of thousands of people would be alive today. And we can work state by state while we are waiting and fighting for national gun violence legislation.
All right, Congressman Jake Auchincloss, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. Next, why gutting abortion rights could